everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Wonderful that you're joining in. My name is Veronica. I'm a relationship coach and the founder of the Conscious Relationship School. And today the topic will be how to listen properly. And so to listen that others really feel heard, because unfortunately in our society, listening is really a skill that not many people possess anymore. Of course, being enhanced by social media, where the emphasis is really on like fast communication and, not really seeing each other, not really connecting with each other. And but yes, in relationships, really listening is one of the most important skills, because it's a big need of us to feel really heard. And so if you're a good listener, others will appreciate it so much. But of course, not just in romantic relationships, with your kids also especially, and even at work, if you're a boss or a colleague of someone and you can listen, wow, I think people will think you have a lot of integrity. And I think you will also be much more successful in your own business. All right, so how this works is that I'll share my screen. And you're super welcome to ask questions. You can use the chat. You can also unmute yourselves. And just ask anything. Like, I'm really deep in those subjects. So sometimes maybe I'm talking over someone's head. And if something is not obvious, just feel free to ask. I'm super happy to answer all the questions. All right, so here we go. I'm sharing my screen now. And this is the presentation. All right. I will also publish this webinar on YouTube. So just that you know that it's gonna be public there. Okay, and I also wanted to show you the conscious relationship roadmap, which I've created and which I use, when coaching with clients, to give them a little bit of a framework, because whenever I do work with someone, the goal is to create a conscious relationship. And what that means is that you are in the relationship and you really relate with awareness. You're aware of yourself, your own baggage, what you bring into the relationship, your triggers. And the goal is to grow together in the relationship and also have it as a place of healing, because all of us have experienced some negative things in relationships, in our families, with ex-partners, and a new relationship can be a place where we can heal from that. And that's what I'm teaching people. And these are the steps of going towards this conscious relationship. And as you can see, compassionate communication is the first step, because it's really the groundwork. If we can't talk about problems properly, we cannot solve anything. And then we go ahead, we go into self-responsibility, which is super important. Of course, knowing about men and women, divine, masculine, feminine. Then emotions. I actually have now a whole 5-part series about emotions coming up. So stay tuned for that. We're going to start next week. And then, of course, psychology, knowing the human mind is very important. And of course, self-awareness. And if we follow those steps, then we are on the way of creating a truly conscious and loving relationship. All right, but today we're going to stick with the communication and especially the listening aspect of communication. This is the agenda. So first I'm going to introduce myself, then why listening is a vital part of communication, yet often gets ignored. And this has a little bit to do with our society. Just want to make you aware, because maybe you're also doing this and you're not aware of this. Then also, why do many people struggle to listen properly? And in the end, I'm going to show you 2 highly effective listening skills, and they are relatively simple, but they are so effective, and that's why I wanted to share them with you guys. All right, but so first of all, yes, so my name is Veronica. I'm originally from Germany, living in the UK right now with my British fiance. And I'm a holistic relationship coach, which means I help people have better relationship. Of course, it all starts with the relationship with yourself. And most of us just have not learned how to have good relationships because we were not modeled in childhood. Our society has a very, very limited understanding what humans need to thrive in relationship. And that's what I teach people. And my background is emotional healing, so I know a lot about emotions. And of course, communication here plays a really, really big role, both in your own healing, but also in relating to others. So that's why it's a vital part of my practice. And yeah, I love to share about it. I also have another, and now I think here on the call, I actually published this webinar in my 2 groups. So maybe some of you are from the UK group, some of you are from the Australia group. So that's really wonderful. All right. So I wanted to ask you guys, why do you think that listening is so important in relationships? So you can use the chat function, or if you want, you can of course also speak.
Hi, this is Vinay, Veronica. Thank you so much for taking the time out and imparting your vast knowledge on what I think is a really cool topic. When I look at this question, I think this is all about how do you grow relationships in better working conditions from a work perspective, getting close to your partner, your children feel valued. It's all about being valued when you're listened to. And it's all about harnessing that relationship and growing it and nurturing it. And I think if you don't do this very well, then typically relationships tend to go south, is my experience.
Yes, definitely. I really loved what you say about this word feeling valued. I think this is so, so important. And when I talk to people that, especially in very long-term relationships, if they don't feel valued, it's horrible because your own self-esteem, just go down so much. Yeah, so thank you so much. That was really nice to sharing. And Peter also says, so you can really understand the other person. Wow, that's also really good, so that you can even see them properly and because that's also another part of relationship problems. So often people actually don't listen and just maybe have a very superficial understanding of what the other person is saying, or even completely misunderstand the person and interpret the worst, and if they would really listen and really focus on the other person, look into their eyes, look into their body language, they would maybe see, wow, the other person doesn't mean it in a bad way at all. They have actually really good intentions. So that's really good. And Grant says to validate the other person. Yes, absolutely, so important. Joss says to show respect and that you value the other person's thoughts and feelings. Yes, respect, definitely also a really big topic in relationships, huh? And Frank says, without listening, you don't experience the other person. Oh, I love that comment as well. Of course, when we really talk about where is the goal in relating, it's actually to experience someone else, and to have, it can be like a very joyful experience to really connect. But unfortunately, due to trauma, and most of us are in a very egocentric perspective, and actually quite a narcissistic perspective, where we are so focused because for so many years we had to fight to get our own needs met. So it's really hard for us to actually put our focus onto someone else. But yeah, it has also to do with how our society is structured. And Vinaya says, shows that you matter in life. Yes, I guess you mean when someone is listening to you. Yes, definitely. Oh, thanks, guys. Really, really deep answers. Beautiful. Yes. So what this all boils down to essentially is that listening fulfills many of our connection needs. Connection needs are something like understanding, companionship, shared reality, mutuality, friendship, like all those important connection needs. And I think I have this here, yes. So as you can see, this is a list of needs, and the connection, like acceptance, belonging, care, closeness, to be seen, trust, these are all related to listening. And why this is so important is that what many people underestimate is that for us as human beings, as a species here on the planet, we are a social species. We thrive in connection. We are a group species. We are not meant to live like solitary tigers, that don't need others. And it's so deeply, I was told us that it's deeply ingrained in our nervous system. We feel really safe and happy when we are with other people, you know? So anything that can enhance our feeling of connection is really, really positive. And yeah, so listening is really vital for our well-being. And as we will see later, very often in relationships, you know, it's not needed that you actually help others solve any problems. It's not even needed that you, like, you know, coach them or something. The only thing they want is just to be listened to. So it is really, really a superpower. And I know that sometimes listening can feel like we are not doing anything. Like that's often the feedback I get. Oh, but I feel so bad if I don't do anything. And I'm like, don't underestimate that you are doing a lot by really listening, by really being present, you know, by not checking out and thinking about your to-do list or thinking already what you want to respond, but really being here is a huge gift to other people, especially in these times of, you know, so many people find it normal that you sit down with someone and you're just texting, you know. So yeah, actually giving others the presence is a healing gift. And when we, for example, talk about therapy or coaching, or even as a medical doctor, we can say that the presence of them alone is like 50% of the healing, you know. Just when someone really sits down with you and gives you their attention is so good for our well-being. Yes, so I really want to drive this point in so that you feel extra motivated, you know, to learn how to listen, or also, you know, to, if you feel like you're not properly listened to communicate this and say, well, this is really important to me, you know, this is what I really, really need. And it would give me so much if you would like learn how to listen better. All right, does that make sense so far? Yes. So this is a needs list, and I also have another webinar where I talk about needs, but yes, it's really beautiful to look at it and just to become aware, you know, how we would thrive in our lives if those needs would be met. And of course, especially those connection needs that we all so long for, you know, like my teacher always says that loneliness is an epidemic, and many people feel really lonely, although they are surrounded by people all the time, you know. And why? Because they feel like other people don't really connect to them, and there's like invisible walls, you know. And very often when someone maybe experiences like depression or something, people can't understand, because on the outside, you know, everything looks perfect. They have a good job, they have friends, they have family around, but very often it's actually that inside they feel super lonely. And so yes, really truly listening is such an amazing gift there as well. All right, so another question: why do you think that many people don't recognize the importance of listening? I hear someone, I think, typing in the background. Maybe just check if you are muted. I'll just, yeah, just go ahead. Yes, that's better. Awesome. Yes, so someone says something here. Too self-absorbed, says Grant. Yes, so I agree with you, but yes, I think very often, you know, it seems like people are selfish, or that they don't care about anyone else. But I think very often we actually don't see how traumatized people are, you know, and that this self-absorption and narcissism is really a way for them to stay safe, because many people like this have never actually had someone in childhood that properly looked out for them and even modeled for them, you know, what does it mean to connect to others? What does it mean to really open your heart, you know? So we can compare this that in many families, actually there's an attitude of like sharks, you know, we are all like sharks swimming in the water. And so if you want to have a good life and survive, you better also be a shark. And that means, of course, really, really just focusing on oneself. But yes, I totally agree with you. It is really also an epidemic, you know, this narcissism and self-absorbed behavior. And Vinay says, making incorrect assumptions that the person is fine, business as usual. Yes, absolutely as well, you know. But of course, that's also connected to our culture that people say, hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm fine, everything is good. And Frank says also expressing often feels better. Wow, that's very interesting. Yes, why does it feel better? Yes, really good comment. Yes, so I think why expressing feels better is because in our society, we really put a lot of emphasis on the masculine young energy. And in terms of communication, this would be expressing, you know, talking, like getting your point across, you know, being the loudest in the room. And that's what we value in our society. It's all connected with pursuing, achieving, getting stuff done. And of course, that in itself is not bad at all. I mean, we have created great things in our Western society. You know, we have, you know, beautiful architecture and economy, and like it's a beautiful thing in itself, but it's not harmonized enough with the feminine yin energy, you know. So I think to create the best life, it's really good to harmonize both the masculine and the feminine and use it when it's useful and appropriate. And yes, but in our society, unfortunately, we don't really value the feminine way of being, which would be more, you know, being relaxed, listening, observing, going inward, meditation, connecting more with feelings and emotions. This is all like the feminine essence, and we have sort of like this belief that it doesn't bring us forward and it's not important for life. But of course, if we always just are in this like active mode, we burn out at some point, right? And also we forget other people around us, we can't see anyone anymore. So we need this simultaneously to also be in this more soft energy, receiving energy as well. Like I really loved what some of you said before. It's also about to experience the other person. Like I'm also naturally more like an expresser, but what I really love about listening is when I'm really there with someone, and suddenly I'm like, wow, you're like your whole universe, you know, you're like your whole being. I could just be entertained just to experience you, you know. And my partner and I are together for 5.5 years. And sometimes I have these moments because we spend every day together all day. And of course, you know, sometimes you're like not even seeing the other person properly, but once in a while I'm like, like amazed by him, just really watch his face. I'm like, wow, what's going on like inside of you, you know? And I have this like magical wonder that we often have in the beginning of a relationship, but I think it's really important to keep this throughout. And I have this also very strong actually with the children, like, wow, I find them so fascinating, you know, what's going on in their little minds and how they see the world. And then it's very easy for me to go into this really listening and observing other people. But yes, so that's one of the reasons. So, you know, sometimes if you catch yourself, maybe that's not so fun listening or something, like remember this, wow, okay, in our society, it's not being valued, but actually, of course, there's great value in it. And as I said, also in the beginning, I also think that actually you would be much better in business if you would incorporate more the feminine energy, because of course, for example, let's say you're an entrepreneur, it's so important that you also relax and rest and think about what you're doing, you know, not just like a headless chicken go into activity, but reflect, is this a good action? And then of course also, yes, listening to your staff, all those soft skills are so important also in business. All right. And then another subject also that I wanted to talk about is this tendency of many people to look for solutions immediately. And I wrote here that men feel powerless when they can't help, because as a relationship coach, I see a little bit more this dynamic of men, but I also know many women that feel the same, and the problem here is that you feel sort of like helpless and powerless if you don't help someone else. And of course, this comes from a very good place, because you wanna be of service to the people you love. You want to help them. You don't like it when they don't feel good, and that makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, what happens is that many people feel that you don't trust that they can do it. You don't trust that they are actually powerful enough to find their own solutions. And as you can imagine, in relationships or with children also, this is actually not always the best thing to do. So if you want to be really helpful, sometimes it's really good to let them do their own thing, let them figure it out. Of course, be there for them, and if they ask you, always help them. But yeah, I have a little bit this rule in my life to only give advice when someone asks me directly, and otherwise to sit back a little bit and give people space to make their own experiences. And Sonia says, what if you are down and someone asks you the reason of being that way? And when you tell them that, they do not seem that they're interested to listen to you anymore. Yes, I can imagine many people here share this experience. It's like terrible, especially if you are someone that finds it really hard to open up. And so, you take this step and you open yourself and you share what's up, and then the others are not listening. It can actually feel like someone is like hitting you in the face, can feel really, really bad. So yes, I said again, I think this is very connected with people underestimating. Maybe they just ask out of a habit, or they expect you to say, oh, no, everything is fine, or something like this, or they are not even aware, what they are doing. And Grant says, it's so hard to not be a problem solver. Yes, it is very, very hard. But I want to give you a little bit of a hint also why some people find this hard, because for some people it's really easy, and others find it so freaking hard. And the reason for this very often is that maybe in your childhood, you were always the problem solver, and this is how you felt safe. This was your role in childhood. It could be that you were a parentified child, which means that maybe you had this feeling that you had to solve your parents' problem or something like this. And that was a way for you to soothe your own anxiety. And so when someone presents a problem and you're not solving it, it makes you feel anxious, because it makes you feel that you're not properly in your role. And also that actually it makes you feel anxious to see other people in pain. And that's the second point I want to drive here in, is that often maybe we underestimate that actually the reason why we go into problem solving mode is to protect ourselves, because we just cannot deal with someone else's intense emotions. And, I don't want to blame or anything at all, just want to make you aware that most people have not learned how to actually deal with their own emotions. And so seeing someone else, having big expressions can really, really trigger us and be like super overwhelming. So sometimes this problem solving mode does not really come from an altruistic point, but more from actually a self-serving mode, and I think that's really important to go deeply within and see that, because of course, it's good to help someone, it's nice, but also it's super important to help other people, have to let other people have their own emotions, and to give space to them, and even to be there for them, be like, yes, you can be angry right now, that's okay, you can be sad, come here, you can cry a little bit, this is so beautiful. Because I will talk about this lots in my webinar series about emotions, but emotions are like water. If you try to constrict it and stuff it down and change it, it will just go explode and become really big, or you suppress it and you can even, create like physical ailments or whatnot. But what is there to do with emotions is to actually open yourself up, let it flow. And that, of course, and relationships, we can do this with our partner, with our children. You know, we can help them feel their own emotions. But if you are so triggered by other people's emotion, you will very often want to change them because you can't deal with it. And there was also another comment that I wanted to read. So Vinay says, there's a difference between empathy and compassion. Yes, absolutely, exactly. And you can, for example, be really sympathized with someone and feel like just super intense, or you can come from this compassionate place. But the compassionate place also means that you are okay with other people feeling, you know. And Grant said, and he also says, Grant, I hear you, however, most people just want to be heard. Yes, exactly. And Charles says, what do you do if the other person asks for your opinion, but you felt they are not serious in asking you? Do you provide your personal opinion, or just continue listening in listening mode and don't mind they're asking you? Wow, this is a really tricky question, I have to say. So I want to share here an example from my coaching practice. So I had a client, and her pattern is that she, when strong emotions come up for her, she focuses on like some sort of like project. And for her, it was that she wanted to have like little rabbits, little bunnies. And so, you know, she was spending like a month like buying all this equipment and everything. And then the bunnies arrived and she really didn't like them. And so we had a coaching call, and she was like, oh my gosh, I feel so horrible. What should I do? What should I do? And I fell into this trap because she asked me, you know, what should I do? To be like, oh yeah, maybe you could do this and this and do this. And I could feel that her emotions was not changing. She was still in this worried place. She was feeling unempowered. And after the session, I was having a really horrible feeling. I was like, oh no, something went wrong. What happened? And then I realized, oh shoot, she's actually not asking me. She's just in her own inner child. And she, you know, projects her parent on me. So because she feels that she is so disempowered. And so she puts me in the parental place and asks me. Then the next time we had again a session, and she again was asking me, what should I do? What should I do? And this time I was not answering a question. I was saying, what do you think? What is your plan? What are you thinking? You know, and she started to reflect and tell me about it. And then I realized her energy was changing, because actually what she wanted from me was to help her speak out her own mind, and of course then feel really empowered. But of course, that's not always the case. Sometimes people really want our authentic advice. But I think just try it out a little bit and you will feel it, you know. Does that other person feel relieved and good about it? Or will they be like a bit like, oh yeah, okay, thank you. But actually they are not feeling so good about it. So maybe that helps you a little bit to gauge it. Vinay says, just listen. So yes, all right. And now I wanted to ask you if you could give some examples of times when people listened in a way you didn't like. And after that, we'll also go to the part where I'll explain what to do and how to listen better. So don't worry, we'll go there. Someone would like to share? Aya, there's a comment. Peter says, when I ask a question and the response addresses something else. Yes, it's not nice, is it? For me, for example, what I really hate so much is when people look at their phones during conversations, like a lot. Like I literally, I don't have any friends that do that because I can't be friends with them because it annoys me so much. I feel so undervalued. And Sonia says, every time when I express my anger, sadness, or any issue with my partner, he never seems to listen to it the way I want. He always responds in a way that I don't like. Oh, I can feel you, Sonia. Yeah, that sounds really like you're not getting your needs met in this situation. Yeah, I'm wondering maybe if there's in general some communication issues between you guys, because yeah, in my own life, I had to learn how to decode other people's language more often because I was taking things very seriously. But of course, also it could be that maybe he's super uncomfortable with your emotions and sort of like tries to push it away. Or alternatively, maybe that he is a bit afraid of that, or he has never learned what to do and what to say, you know. But yeah, I can really feel you on that one. And Joanna says, getting angry at what I'm saying? Yes, of course. Just says, I have a coaching buddy at work. Sometimes he asks questions, but gives me only a short time to respond. Yes, that's also a really big one, you know, especially because often when you start thinking about a subject, you will say like 2 sentences and then take a pause, and then more stuff comes up. So it would be really important for people to actually give you space to see if you have expressed everything. And Vinay says, I went through severe trauma and spoke to my brother. He went into solution mode without understanding or listening. Very frustrating and made me very angry. Oh yeah, I can totally imagine. And here you can see that, especially when we have experienced something very traumatic, there will be so many emotions, often also shame. And so when someone else takes the time to really to listen to us, or immediately a part of our shame drops, because we are like, okay, I have experienced this, and you know, still someone else is with me and wants me. Because often, you know, especially when there's something like an abuse or something, we feel like it was our fault or that we are disgusting or something like this. So someone else just being with us is so freaking important, you know. Or for example, let's say there was a kid at school and they have done something bad, you know, I don't know, they did something, and they will also feel a lot of shame. And if the parents don't really listen to them and really hear them properly, the kid can internalize this whole shame and think that there's something wrong with them. All right. And Sophie says they take over the conversation and change the content. Yes, that's also really annoying. And Lacey says, I would consider myself quite open and pragmatic. I sometimes want to unload or talk about my experiences, and the person continuously cuts me off and somehow gets angry by my feelings and then offended because I don't want their advice. I just want them to listen. Yeah, Lacey, thanks so much for commenting this. I think so many people can, like, this is really, as a relationship coach, this is one of the most things that people say, you know, that someone else doesn't accept their feelings, they just want to give them advice, and they don't understand that listening in itself is the healing. Yes. And Charles says, sometimes if I'm talking and discussing something serious, but the person listening's facial expression, body language is more like laughing to what I'm saying or not taking me seriously. Wow, that's super painful. Huh? You feel super not heard and received, and also that someone else really doesn't get it. Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh. And FB also says, my partner used to say, well, you are a lot better off than other people. At least you have a roof over your head, you have a job, or you're still well, depending on what the occasion is about. Yes. Ooh, that gives me the chills even reading this. Yes, absolutely. I have another presentation on this. Man, what was because I go into this, I can't remember. It's about validation. Yes. So, wow, I'll share this also later. Yes. So, because there exactly I share about what not to do in listening, because yeah, all of this, people come, of course, from such a good place. This is what they learn to do. They think this is helpful. It's super, super unhelpful. It doesn't make you feel better at all, because of course there's always someone in the world who has it worse off or better off, but still our pain is valid, Even if we are the president of the United States or we are the super billionaire, we still experience pain in our life, and we have, and it's allowed, no one can say no, like you are a millionaire, you're a billionaire, your life is perfect. We take the humanity away from them by saying that. Yes, absolutely. All right, cool. So let's go now into what to do when we are listening. And these tools might sound really simple, but don't underestimate them. So the first thing, of course, is all the things we just said, what you just heard. Don't do that, Don't immediately give advice. Don't give people lots of space to talk. Don't laugh when they're saying about something serious. Connect with them. And this is what I call listening with presence. It's really like a spiritual practice or like a meditative practice that you can practice. And what that means is that when you are with someone, and you are in a conversation that, especially if it's a connecting conversation with your partner, with your children, something where you can really have a chance to connect, really be there with them, sit down with them, focus on them, turn your body towards them, try to connect with your hearts and really properly put your focus on them. Look into their eyes. What are they feeling? Look into the facial expressions, what's their body language saying? This is how you can truly, truly see them. And even deeper than just listening to the words, try to connect with the underlying emotions, because very often people will say, oh yeah, it was not so bad and stuff. But if you really feel the emotions, like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible, this was a horrible experience, and that's what you can really connect to, and that's what you can also then react to. And a really helpful tip is here that so when I coach, for example, how I listen and how I am with people when coaching is I'm at the same time I'm connecting with them, I also stay connected with myself. So I keep feeling my own body. I am conscious of what I'm thinking, what emotions I myself am feeling, because the reason for this is that very often you maybe will get triggered by someone else will saying, someone else will share an experience and something is happening in you. For example, if you have this belief that being weak is bad, if someone else will share something vulnerable, probably thoughts come up like, oh, this is not good. This doesn't make sense. I could never be like this. And so it's very likely that you start reacting out of this trigger, and for example, trying to make the person man up, and be strong in this moment. And basically you are reacting from an unconscious place. And very often, maybe later, you will regret what you have said, because, some part of you has taken over and actually stirred the conversation in a direction that was about you and not about them, So be conscious of what you yourself are experiencing when you are listening to someone, and for me, for example, for me as a coach, this is like my bread and butter, right? And I cannot let my own feelings interfere how I'm serving a client, because yes, sometimes it doesn't happen a lot anymore, but sometimes it happens that they are saying something and I'm like, oh my gosh, what the hell is that? Because I myself have a problem with this, like if I would be like this, I would experience it. Like, for example, they are exhibiting a behavior that I would never do because I feel shame about it. But this is my problem, this is not on them. So I have to become conscious when this is happening. And of course, this is also then such a great learning opportunity for yourself, because you can understand yourself better. And it's also really beautiful sometimes to be like, wow, I can let someone else be this way, and maybe it was not so bad as I thought it was. Are you following me here? Yeah, so just want to make you aware that often there's something going on within you, and that's what makes it really hard for you. And Charles says, is it possible to listen with presence effectively if the situation you need to listen to the person over the phone? Yes, absolutely, exactly. I mean, you can learn to be sensitive in all kinds of manner. And for example, sometimes I actually like it over the phone because I can concentrate more on the feelings that are in the voice. And the voice is so expressive. I mean, you know, you could, if you're very sensitive, you could tell how someone is feeling after they've just spoken 2 or 3 sentences, right? So yes, it's absolutely possible. And maybe it will even distract you less about, you know, maybe they wear like a weird outfit, or maybe there's something else in the room, you know. So I could imagine maybe also for people with ADHD, now I don't know so much about ADHD, but you know, if you're maybe very easily distracted, maybe it could even help you to do that. Yes, any other more questions? So yes, so really don't underestimate this. And as I said in the beginning, you can even see this like as a spiritual practice, you know, am I really here? Like 100%, you know, that's what we do in meditation essentially, right? We always bring our awareness back to the present moment. It's the same thing with listening. Like, am I really here? Am I thinking about something else? Am I thinking about solution, or am I just taking that person in and being connected with myself? Wow, you can do this for 10 years as a monk, probably. Yes. All right. And then I also want to share with you another tool, which is validation. And this is more of an active tool where you are actually reacting to someone else. So, you know, obviously presence is you're very quiet and you're really just focusing with your awareness. But validation is then things that you can actually say and how you can respond when someone is sharing. And I was thinking, shall I maybe, does someone want to share something from their lives and I can validate and you can like experience what it is if someone wants, if someone is open to this? Nope. Okay. No problem. So you have maybe if you have been focusing on the last hour of this presentation, whenever someone says a comment or something, I use validation. So what that means is that you tell someone that their feelings are valid, that they make sense, you know. So when someone is commenting, for example, I'm like, oh yes, I can imagine that this feels like this for you. Oh, that makes sense. Wow, I have the same experience, or I could imagine that other people have had the same experience. And of course, I'm not like lying. This is actually what I'm thinking. But what I'm doing here is basically tell someone that their experience matters. And that however they experience reality makes sense. And this is not about truth or not truth, you know, this is not about what is objectively true, you know. So for example, one woman was sharing in the comment about that her partner is not listening. I'm not saying that this is the objective truth, you know. I'm not there with the person. It could be that maybe she just experiences as if he's not listening. Maybe she has actually a weird distorted view of reality, you know. Anything could happen, but what I'm doing here is just telling her, look, you experience it this way and that makes sense for you in this moment, you know. Because most of the time when people share about an experience, people say, no, that's not true, or you shouldn't feel this way, or your feelings are weird, why do you feel that way, the other person was not like that. And what it essentially does, it makes you feel like you are crazy, you know, and that whatever you are experiencing is not reality, but it is your subjective reality, and that is so important. Maybe another example I can give here, where you can maybe understand this a bit more also. So let's say there's a child, they are 5 years old, and they are at their friend's birthday party. And you have to understand about the mind is that with 5 years old, you cannot conceptualize the world very well yet, right? Like the mind develops as we get older. So let's say the child is at the birthday party and they feel super jealous because they themselves cannot get a present. And so they come to you, you're the parent, they say, mommy, why don't I get a present? It's not fair. So most parents, what they do is they say, but you have to understand, it's not your turn. You should not be jealous. You get your presents in 3 months when it's your birthday. And of course, I can understand why this reaction is there, but essentially what they're doing is that they are invalidating the emotion of the child. Because as I said in the beginning, the child does not understand what's happening. So a validating thing would be to say, oh, honey, I can really understand what you're going through. I think I would also feel really jealous because, yeah, I can imagine that it doesn't make sense to you, right? Like, why should they get a present? You don't. Come here, let me give you a hug. And what you then help them is to process the emotion. And of course, you don't say, okay, and now you get a present as well or something. You don't have to become like a spoiling parent, but all you do is make the child understand that, yes, it's a total logical reaction. If you have no concept of why you don't get a birthday present as someone else's birthday party, of course you feel jealous. Do you see what I mean? Like the emotions and your perspective always make sense, but you don't have to, then to tell someone else that it's objective reality. It's the same, for example, when someone experiences a panic attack, you don't go to them and say, this is ridiculous. Why do you have a panic attack? Nothing is happening. No, you tell them, oh my gosh, I can understand. Yes, you're feeling strong emotions. I see you, I feel you, I'm here with you, right? But of course, you don't then tell them, say, yes, it's true, the walls are closing in, and that's objectively happening. Yes, does that make sense to you guys? So Frank also says, what's your opinion on verbally validating drama queens? So this is very interesting now, because there's many things to dissect in the sentence. So yes, the first thing about this is the judgment of drama queen. Of course, I can totally understand where you're coming from. But the first thing here is like this judgment of judging someone as a drama queen, And essentially, how you can do it, and that is a skill that has to be learned, is that you can validate someone's emotion without changing your own boundaries, and without saying that you are wrong. So for example, if you experience someone as a drama queen and, maybe, I don't know, you say something, they like freak out and they become really, really big. You can try to understand their emotions, be like, hey, what's going on with you? What are you feeling right now? And then when they share this, you can validate this, say, like, oh, yes, I can imagine that this feels really big for you. While at the same time, you're not saying that, for example, you are to blame, that it's your fault, because essentially in a conscious relationship, what we want to learn is that your own feelings are about you. Your own triggers are about you. And that first and foremost, the reason why you feel something is because it has, you have a reaction to it, So in a conscious relationship, essentially, let's say, I don't know, you always leave the towel on the floor and your partner freaks out about it. You can say, okay, why does it create this strong emotions in you? And then the partner says, wow, actually it was because my childhood was so chaotic, and whenever I see this towel on the floor, it reminds me of this one, so I get like panic and also anger feelings, and I feel like you don't care about me. And so you can say, wow, I can understand how this happens and how you feel this way. But it's also important to understand that this is not the case anymore. You're not in your childhood anymore, and I don't do this because I don't care about you. I do this because I just don't think about it. So do you see what I mean? You are validating, but the validation is not about admitting that you did something wrong or anything like this. And that is really when you reach this point, then your relationship just becomes amazing, because validation is all people ever want. They think they want to be right, and all this stuff, but that's actually not what's happening. They just want to be seen and heard. And you can do this in a way without loosening your boundaries. And of course, validation is never, it's never about that someone else can treat you shit and say yes. And now you validated me, it means that I'm right and you're like the horrible person in the relationship. And Peter says, makes sense. Will take some time to make validation a habitual response, I think. Yes, absolutely. It really takes time, especially if it's situations where you feel like you want to defend yourself a lot. So it really takes time. But as I said, if you practice both in conjunction, one is that you learn how to set really good boundaries, and you can set them in a super compassionate way, and then you validate, then you are amazing. Because you're not giving something away, you're not like letting someone else hurt you, because this is very often what people do. Either they are super defensive and they don't connect with the other person's experience at all, or the other would be that they are all the time super understanding but have no own boundaries and constantly let themselves be hurt. Do you see what I mean? Those are those two lines, that actually the narcissist and the codependent. But we can be empathic while having super strong boundaries. And Charles says, can validation be an effective tool for paranoid people? Yes, absolutely, I think so. And also, for example, for people that experiencing like voices in their mind, or even like, of course, bipolar, or any sort of like when people have more personalities. Of course, I don't want to like expect of you that you should be like a carer for, if you have a person in your life that has severe mental health issues. I would always say, like, be careful to not go into this role of the therapist, but can be super, super helpful for someone to validate them, because imagine, just put yourself in this position that you hear that you feel really, really paranoid and you have these thoughts, like they are real for you, So if someone constantly tells you this is not right, you feel so freaking alone, and it's scary for you. I mean, couldn't imagine like hearing voices. Wow. And if someone else just be like, I can imagine that this seems really real for you. Oh, suddenly I feel relieved. But then, of course, more healing steps would be taken, because always these disorders comes from trauma, obviously, but it could be a good first step. Oh, and FB says, as a primary teacher, I use validation all the time with children. Oh, that makes me so happy to read this. Wow, that's really, really wonderful. Yes, so well done. Yes, children need this so much. Like what I wrote here is that, missing validation is the reason why so many people have a hard time processing emotions, because if someone, gives you this validation, it just makes you feel that it's okay, and that makes sense, that you're not like a weird person, that you don't have to suppress your emotions, So if parents and teachers would do this more, we would have much, much, much less traumatized people, or just people simply not able to process their own emotions, because most people are sort of like stuck emotionally in the developmental stage of 3 or 4 years old, and they are still not grown up. That's why you see so many adults being triggered all the time, essentially going back to the space of being like a young child, because they have not gone through this development. And for example, for me as a coach, this is one of the big things that I do with people. I just validate. And that's actually how therapy works, is that your coach or your therapists, they are acting like a parent for you and help you go through this development, learn all the skills, but also get this validation. And then at some point you can become your own inner parent. And that's then the healing that occurs with therapy. Yes. And these are the useful phrases for validation. You're super welcome to maybe take a screenshot or something. So that's basically what you can use. Of course, you can, say pretty much everything. The most important thing that it feels like authentic to you. And if, for example, if you cannot really understand where someone is coming from, like I've had in one of my courses, someone with autism, and he found it really difficult to put himself in another person's shoe. I told him just to see things like, hey, I see you, and concentrate on that. I see your emotion. I hear you, even if I can't understand, I'm really trying to be there with you. Because of course you don't have to say it just like a empty thing, or if it feels really uncomfortable for you. That's not the goal of this. Oh yeah, and FB, would you like to say something? Sorry.
Hi there.
Hi.
Yes, I would.
Yes, go ahead.
I just got a thing in the chat that was not appropriate. I don't know if anyone else got it.
Was it a private message or?
It says to everyone.
Yeah, I just saw that. It's disgusting.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I'm not prepared to say what it says. I was just going to I was about to text you to say, or message you to say something. Have we been hacked? Because it has happened before, perhaps not on this one, but on another one, and it was just dreadful, and I don't want to be a part of that.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Yes, I just trying to delete the comment, but I can't. Yes, so it's also a person, they just have a point, so there's not even a name.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm just wondering what that's all about. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't know what time you're meant to be finishing, but maybe, I don't know. I just wanted to let you know that was there.
Yes. Okay. So, the thing is how this works with these webinars is that everyone can join, So unfortunately, I cannot really control comms, but of course, this is not a part of this. But I think we can all take a deep breath, and I think everyone here agrees that this is not like something that we would ever want or agree to. You can put away the chat, and we can finish the presentation in peace.
Thank you. Yep.
Yes, thanks for making me aware of this. Wonderful.
That's all right. Thank you.
Yes.
How you doing? I just missed that. What was said then?
Oh, it was just some insults.
Pretty bad.
And, yes, just some, like Nazi language, this kind of stuff. Yes.
Is that what she said?
No, it was just like a comment in the chat that was being said, and she just made me aware of that. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It sometimes happens because, like this is also the thing with these webinars, is that all kinds of people join, and many people are in such a bad place of pain that sometimes in these webinars they use it either, like what happens sometimes, that people really spill out and they start, talking about their mental health issues and their trauma and all this stuff. But then what also happens is, that because imagine someone, who has no attention maybe of someone else. It's like, as you can see, like the woman who was sharing, you were so triggered about this comment, So and this is also for me always like, because of course in my work I'm really close to this, like I know how much people are in pain, but very often we are actually not aware in what a bad place. And of course any sort of extremism of hate comes always from this place of trauma, and that people are so lost, and all this. But let's send each other all love, and also to that person who's probably in a lot of pain. And of course, yes, we want to spread love and light in the world and love everybody. Yes. Okay, guys, so this was actually the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for joining today. And of course, if you're interested, you can work on one-on-one with me. I offer coaching sessions where I can help you to become a master listener, learn how to feel and express your emotions, and most importantly, connect with others authentically. And you can find all the information on my website. And here is the links. And exactly. So just check out my offers there. And of course, also if you want to support me, also to keep those webinars free here, to share the message, and you can buy me a coffee online. And I'm always super happy. You can also leave a little message, and it's always really nice for me to read. And yes, I hope you enjoyed this webinar, even though there was this hiccup in the end. And yes, I just want to invite you all also to open your hearts and, you know, love each other, because this is the only way that we can actually create new earth, a better society where there's more love and more connection. Yes. Oh, and Tal, yes, you want to ask a question? Yes, please go ahead, of course.
I suffer from a very severe mental disability. I don't really want to talk about the diagnosis, but I have a huge problem with, it affects me very much physically. So I have a huge problem with voluntary mobility because of it, like when I'm with anxiety. I'm just wondering if you know any techniques that could help me be less conscious, I guess, like less overthinking, more.
Yeah. So my approach to any emotions is actually the opposite, that we start to, because there's a part of you essentially that feels the anxiety, you know, like people always think that we are one person, but actually we are many, many different parts in ourselves. So for example, one part of us is the inner child. Then we have a part usually that is like very critical, a part that is like a teacher, a part that is a parent inside. And so there's one part of you that feels really, really anxious. And what I do with clients is I help them to get to know this part, because this will be a child part of you, a part of you that has not received the needs of safety enough. And so they are constantly afraid, essentially. And what you can do is to really deeply get to know this part of you, help them to feel the emotions, because usually, you know, you try to suppress it, to feel it more, and then become your own inner parent, where you essentially help yourself to feel more safety in the world, because this is where the anxiety is coming from. It's from a lack of safety, you know. So how you can research this is, for example, parts work, or also the completion process. Like those inner healing modalities are really like a long-term way to actually go into a state of safety and also empowerment for yourself. Yes. So I hope that helped you a little bit, and send you lots and lots of love from me to you. And of course, you can also check the.
Thanks, Veronica.
Yes.
Sorry, I just missed the end bit. I just missed the end bit. You recommended to search something. I just missed that part.
Oh, yes. So I put it in the chat. It's called like either parts work or completion process. Actually, if you're in Australia, I have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful practitioner also that I work with. If you're interested, just send me a message on Meetup. I can give you her details. Like, she is so great, because I've been on I also had very strong anxiety, and you know, I still work with people, because my approach, I don't go so much into, I more work on more like relationship issues. Yeah, so if you're up for that, I can definitely also recommend you her, because
I really liked what you said about valid. Like I've never told someone my condition and they've actually took it as seriously as it is. So I really think you're 100% on the spot what you're saying, because it's very connected, relationships and mental health.
Oh, that's really great. Yes, I'm really happy that you feel this way, and it's really such a game changer, you know, because that's really where it all comes from. That especially in childhood, like yeah, that's the root where it starts, when we constantly just are told that this is not okay, and that there's no point, and that there's no reason for your fear. There is a big reason for your fear. Emotions always make sense. And of course, I invite you to join my webinar series. Like the next 5 sessions, I will also make one about anxiety, but also to understand the purpose of your emotions, you know, because don't think that there is a specific reason. Of course, it doesn't feel great, but once you understand it, it's much easier to be like, okay, welcome, fear, like you have a message for me. You're not here to like hurt me or harm me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
So you're so welcome. And thanks for your vulnerable sharing. Okay, guys. So yes, I wish you a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I hope to see you next week. And yes, thanks also again for dealing with
Oh,
this.
sorry. Yeah, I'm from Melbourne. You mentioned if I'm in Australia, I can get an email or something. Yeah, I'm from Melbourne.
Awesome. Yeah. So can you send me, do you know, like a private message on Meetup?
Yep. Yeah, I'll do that.
Cool. Just send me a message there, and then I can give you her details. Yes.
Thanks so much. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh no, all good, all good. All right, guys. I wish you a wonderful evening or morning wherever you are, and all the best. Mwah.